here in the chat, everybody. So the link I'm about to put in the chat, as soon as I can find the chat icon, give me a sec. Is there, oh, is there a chat box? I can't find it. Oh, there we go. Yep. I'm just blind. That's all. Okay. I'm putting a link here in the chat basically the link that I've just shared with each of you. So for anyone here on this Zoom call who has their insurance license on hand, but you are not yet contracted with Empire Life, you will be able to use this link, and I'll direct you how here to set your business up with us and be able to use our products with your clients. So the link that I just shared here, excuse me, is going to take you to this page right here where it says, welcome to Canoe EL. You might see a friendly face here, Mr. Jared Sleds, advocating using Empire Life here on the right-hand side. And what you can do if you'd like to set up a contract with Empire Life is you'll come to this page and scroll down to where it asks you not contracted yet. From there, you can do this for yourself or for your newly licensed trainee. They can come to this page as well and enter their first name, last name, and WFG email address, and click submit. Okay. Now, what's going to happen from there once they've done that is, excuse me, our contracting team is going to get to work on your contract, and it will take them approximately 3 days to set it up, 3 business days. Now, once those 3 business days have transpired, you or your trainee will be able to come to empire.ca. You'll also get a welcome email from Empire as well. Be sure to check your spam if you don't think you got it. And basically what you'll be able to do is come here to empire.ca, go to login, and hit retail advisors. That's you. Okay. And from that retail advisor login page, you will be able to create a login just like you would with any other website. Once the login is all finished and ready to go, your account will go live and you or your trainee will be ready to submit business with Empire. Make sense? Awesome. So the short story is, if you're proactive about it, the whole contracting process should take you or your trainee 3 or 4 business days. Anyway, back to the meat and potatoes of why we're all gathered here today. Here we go. We're currently putting the finishing touches on a PowerPoint presentation for this product. But in the meantime, you get to be one of the last audiences who will ever see my write it out in front of you presentation. Anyway, so how this is going to work is this. The product we're here to discuss today is called Class Plus 3.0. Please forgive me in advance for any typos, by the way. And basically what Class Plus 3.0 is, in technical jargon, it's known as a guaranteed minimum withdrawal benefit. However, if you use that terminology with any client in real life, you will most likely get a blank stare in response. And so how I would recommend positioning this to a client is with this term right here. Class Plus 3.0 is a segregated fund with guaranteed income or life. Okay. And so to give you an idea of what this product is, and more importantly, who it should be used for, I want to kind of give you a tour today in this presentation of part of the, basically what's happening to the Canadian population and how the interest in this product is going to go nowhere but up in the coming years. Okay. So a couple of technical things that you should be aware of here before we get rolling is this. To start an account, a client must invest 10 grand, just so that you're aware. A client needs $10,000 to start up an account with Class Plus 3.0. That being said, this product is not really targeted toward people who have $10,000 to invest. This is actually a product best marketed toward the, I'm just going to say the elderly market in general. So to give you some ideas of the demographics we're talking about, excuse me, we're talking about demographics like the boomer generation, active retirees, pre-retirees, pensioners, corporate or business owners. Did I miss any? And the general high net worth segment of the population, which is a lot of people. There are over 1 million millionaire households in Canada, just to give you an idea. Anyway, so that is basically where you're going to see the best results marketing this product. I mentioned that, a client can start here, $10,000 to start an account. But in my experience, you will have an easier time selling this to a millionaire than you will to someone who has 10 grand. So really, it's just designed to help you cast your rod for big fish. Does that make sense? Awesome. Okay. So basically, now that we understand that that this product is best marketed toward the elderly market, I want to give you a bit of a tour of what the elderly market cares about, the methods that they're currently using to try and execute their retirement, and where Class Plus can improve their retirement strategy. Okay, so I mentioned the elderly market just in general. They have 3 high priorities. Okay. And these priorities, in no particular order, are as follows. Capital preservation. What this means is that your clients are, especially the older and wealthier they are extremely emotionally attached to their money. And they have every right to be so. And the short story with this is that a client is more likely to do business with an advisor who demonstrates respect for this fact. Is that fair? Right on. So that's priority number 1. Priority number 2 is to secure a stable stream of income versus a speculative stream of income. If you show a client a high confidence retirement strategy versus a low confidence retirement strategy, they're probably going to go with the high confidence one every time, the one where there's more assurances, more peace of mind, and less that can go wrong. Is that fair? Right on. That's priority number 2. Priority number 3 is, as a general rule, tax efficiency, whatever that might happen to look like for the client. However, people's tax situations can be all over the map depending on what they've got going on. But it is good to keep in mind that clients, especially retirees, do care about tax efficiency as a general rule. So these 3 priorities right here are typically what is at the forefront of a retiree's mind when they think about securing their retirement. Once these 3 priorities are taken care of, we usually find somewhere in the back seat that they care about estate/legacy planning, which is, what am I going to leave behind to my loved ones once I've passed on. So this right here is a very quick snapshot into the mind of your average elderly client. Is that fair? Any questions so far? Going once, going twice. Awesome. So now that we have a little bit of insight into the mind of today's Canadian retiree, I'd like to give you a bit more of a picture of the landscape. So some of you may have heard in other presentations or just from your own research as an advisor, Canada currently has an extremely rapidly aging population, right? And so basically, the short story is that there's more people who are exiting the workforce right now than are entering it. And this is predicted to place tremendous strain on programs like Canada Pension Plan, Old Age Security, etc., because there's more people who are going to be taking from it than are going to be contributing to it. And what this means is that there is increased pressure to take retirement into my own hands, just because of macroeconomic factors that no one can really control. The situation is what it is, and the client needs to rely on their own wits and resources a lot more than maybe they thought they would have to. Okay, and to give you an idea of the opportunity that this presents to you as an advisor, I want to give you some numbers to chew on here. According to the Institute for Executive Advisors, there is estimated to be a boomer wealth transfer of 1.6 trillion over the next 20 years. Now, because a lot of us can't really fathom the number $1 trillion, we don't use it in our regular life. I want to break this down for you. This comes out to a $300 million wealth transfer daily for the next 20 years.
Can't hear me?
So what I'm trying to get across to you here is you picked a phenomenal time to become a financial advisor. Agreed? Right on. So
microphone.
The other thing that I want to bring to your attention here is this is just the boomers. This does not take into account any of the other categories that I listed over here, the pensioners, the active retirees, the blah, blah, blah. So the short story is that this right here is probably a lot bigger in reality than I've just painted it.
I don't know. I'll fix that setting later.
Awesome. So
equitable training.
This right here is what we know the elderly market cares about. This right here gives you some insight into just how many people today and in the years to come are going to be looking for high quality retirement solutions. Okay, so the next thing that we should probably take a look at logically is what are retirees today currently trying, what strategies are they currently using in order to secure their retirement? And from what I've seen so far, there are three popular retiree strategies used in Canada today. And each one of them has some fairly serious disadvantages. So I want you to keep something in mind here as we go forward.
Real estate office, her mom and her aunt are realtors.
You can probably summarize a retiree's priorities as follows.
Like whatever,
retirees, forgive me, it's hard to write and talk at the same time, are looking for the holy trinity of features in any given retirement product, which are safety plus growth plus income. And I'm going to make the case to you here that no matter what strategy or product that the retiree is currently using, they have likely compromised on at least one of these. Okay, so the first strategy I'd like to take a look at here is something called, you might have seen this coming a mile away, something called a GIC or guaranteed investment certificate with the client's local bank or credit union. This is probably the most popular strategy that your average client is using, basically because the banks run more commercials on TV than everyone else combined. Anyway, so the short story with the GIC is, the reason that clients find it attractive is that there's guaranteed growth,
I gotta go to the office,
and you do not take losses in a GIC, which sounds pretty good up front to your average client. However, the disadvantages to a GIC are as follows. First and foremost, it is not an income product. It is not a product that in any way is designed to place a recurring paycheck into your client's pocket. And anyone who's attempting to retire, that's not going to service their needs very well. As a matter of fact, GICs typically go the opposite direction, and they gravitate towards locking up your money for a period of time. This is no good for a retiree who needs cash flow to keep the bills paid. Agreed? Awesome. The second disadvantage to a GIC is that there is no market exposure. What this means is that if the market has a plus 20% year this year, but I or my client are sitting in GICs, then we are no better off and we missed a great year, right? So it is worth, a lot of clients, they do want market exposure and they're justified in wanting market exposure. The GIC will not give it to them. Fair? Any questions so far? Alrighty, moving right along here. Once we're done this presentation, by the way, I will be explaining for you how to illustrate this product to a client as well. So we'll get you trained on the tools as well. Here I'm giving you more of a bird's eye view of who, what, when, where, why of this product. Anyway, strategy number 2 that we've noticed industry-wide is really popular with retirees is something that you might remember from your LLQP studies, something called an annuity. Now, an annuity is a guaranteed paycheck product. And again, at first glance, this sounds attractive to a lot of clients where they'll get their guaranteed paycheck. And because there's a word guarantee slapped on it, they don't have to worry about where the income is going to come from. Now, again, sounds good at first glance, but there are disadvantages that a client should be made aware of prior to pulling the trigger. The big disadvantage to an annuity, and it's actually a really scary one, is this. An annuity is a purchase, not an investment. What this means is that if I've worked really hard all my life and I have $500,000 of life savings and I place that with the annuity company, they will make good on their promise. They'll cut me the $2 or $3 grand a month of income that they promised me, but my $500,000 is gone and I cannot get it back. And so what this means is that an annuity is basically useless for two things. It is useless for emergency funding, because if the annuity company promised me 2 grand a month, but I need 10 grand this month, the annuity is not going to give it to me. So not the best place to use for emergency funding. It is also not very useful for inheritance planning. And again, the reason for this is that when I pass away, my $500,000 remains with the annuity company. The funds are no longer mine. Make sense? Awesome. Any questions about strategy number 2 here? Going once, going twice. All right. So, excuse me, voice is a little scratchy today. I did not get much sleep at our corporate year end in Montreal last week. Anyway, I appreciate your patience. Anyway, strategy number 3 here that we notice is very popular with retirees is something that's going to be a lot more familiar to everyone here in the room. It's something that we call investment funds, which are basically every financial advisor's bread and butter. Now, the concept of an investment fund is very simple. It's designed to give the client market exposure to grow wealth over time. And anyone here on this call who has ever run a financial independence number for a client before has likely learned that most clients require market exposure in order to have a fighting chance of hitting their goals. Agreed? Right on. So investment funds are a good and beautiful thing, as are these other 2 strategies. But again, when it comes time to retire, this strategy gets a lot more risky to someone who's trying to retire because they have reduced margin for error. They have reduced emotional margin for error. They have reduced financial margin for error. They do need increased peace of mind. And the reason that investment funds may not be the best place to put a retiree is very simple. Markets can stay down longer than clients can tolerate. And this is a quote that's actually attributed to Mr. Warren Buffett from Berkshire Hathaway. The short story is this. Investors and clients are more emotional than they are logical. And the problem is this. If a market crash occurs like it did just last year in 2022, and the client reaches a point where they start panicking, if I, the advisor, cannot calm the client down and they jump ship, then it is game over for that big, beautiful financial plan that I put in place for them. Is that fair? Right on. So this is something that not only clients, but also advisors need protection from. And then there's also the fact that history teaches us that markets have been known, even though they go up, markets go up over time, markets have been known to ruin some retirees' retirement just by sheer bad timing. And we have a great case study for this with something that we call the Great Depression. Markets crashed at the start of the Great Depression in 1929. Markets did not recover to their 1929 levels until 1955. Almost 30 years later. If I was a retiree in 1929 and I tried to retire at that time, I would not have had a retirement. Markets just would not, the timing would not have been in my favor. Agreed? Right on. So the short story is, historically, have markets gone up? Yes, they have. Doesn't mean that that's an excuse to turn a blind eye to protecting your client. Is that fair? Right on. So the short story is this. If we were going to recap the 3 strategies that we've looked at so far, keep in mind clients are looking for safety plus growth plus income. We've seen that none of these 3 strategies can deliver on all 3 at the same time. GICs, you'll have safety plus growth, but not so good in the income category. Annuities, you have safety plus income, but no growth. Investment funds, you have growth plus income, but no safety. Make sense? Awesome. So the short story is this. This is where I come in riding on my horse in shining armor to present Class Plus 3 as a solution to all three. So the whole idea here, what I am going to attempt to convince you of, is that Class Plus 3 is the only product that I've seen, possibly the only product in the industry, that can achieve all three of these at the same time for a retiree client. What we're going to present to you here is the best of all three of these worlds and the weaknesses of none of them. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick mechanical overview of what actually happens in this product, and then we're going to show you how it would work in a real live case. So with this product, basically how it works is this. Empire invests Class Plus 3 clients into regular segregated funds according to their risk tolerance. Your client has approximately 18 different choices on our fund lineup. If they want super safe funds, we can put them in that. If they want growth portfolios, we can accommodate that as well. So the short story is we preserve the client's ability to get market exposure and grow their wealth over time. Okay, that's feature number one. Feature number two is at the same time, we guarantee the client, X amount of annuity style income for life. The amount of income they're guaranteed depends on how old they are, how much money they're going to invest, all that good stuff. Okay, but the short story is this is a place where we can compete with the annuity product to give the client permanent guaranteed income. Okay, now while all this is happening, it's important to understand that bad years with full downside protection. Now, the last feature that I want to talk about here is arguably one of the most important ones. The client maintains full ownership, control, and access to their funds at all times. So what this means is that if the client needs to make emergency withdrawals, they're at liberty to do that. If they decide that they want to pull out of the strategy and go to a different company, they usually don't, but they certainly have the option to, right? And the final benefit of this feature is that your client, once they pass away, contrary to the annuity company, if your client passes away and they have 300 grand left in their account, that's still their property. The 300 grand goes to the client's loved ones, not to the annuity company. Make sense? Perfect. So this, once again, was a bit of a mechanical overview. And in my estimation, these features right here make Class Plus 3 the only product in Canada that can achieve all three of these objectives for a retiree without compromising on any one of them. Now, is it going to be suitable for every client? Not necessarily, but according to sheer data, everything that we know about the retiree market, there's nothing that they will find more emotionally appealing on average than this product right here. I've worked on enough cases with Class Plus 3 at this point where I've given it an affectionate nickname, shooting retiree fish in a barrel. To give you an idea. Basically, this is a product where if you learn how to use it, I also tell advisors, it's probably your quickest ticket to your next $10 million of client money under management, because at Empire, case company wide, our average case size that comes in with this product is $400,000, is what we would consider a normal client using this product. Any questions so far? Leslie, you got a big smile on your face.
This almost sounds too good to be true, Matthew.
That's what I was just going to say too. Yeah.
Okay, so you're calling my bluff. I understand. Just kidding. But so for real though, tell me more about that. Too good to be true. Can you say more on how or why?
Well, so yeah, go ahead, Kimberly.
No, you go ahead. You started.
But so yeah, just like as you listed, like it's got that annuity style to it for the income for life, but yet you still get to own it, right? So you get to set your beneficiary at the end of it, where that I mean that's kind of where it leads to this is too good to be true. Like you understand the annuity in this, like how does Empire, I guess, keep ahead?
Keep the lights on.
Yeah, that's how I
absolutely.
was going to reflect that as well, as how does Empire keep ahead when the bad years aren't going to hurt, but yet the good years are going to help?
Totally. It's a very valid concern and one that we get fairly frequently. The short story is this. Products like these are expensive for life insurers to maintain. Why? Because they put us on the hook for a long list of very generous promises to the client with the word guarantee attached, right? So the short story is this. There used to be a lot more of these products, GMWBs, running around. Most of them have been canceled because insurers just threw in the towel. Not because they were losing money, but just because there was too much work involved to maintain the product, right? Empire is virtually the last man standing, so to speak, in terms of the effort that we've put into maintaining our product, and now we're kind of reaping the rewards because we're the only game in town. Or the only game that's still in town as far as this goes. Now, the nice part for your clients is this. When a life insurer offers a product like this, they are expected to have enough capital, enough funds on hand to honor the promises that they're making to the public, right? And regulators audit us very frequently to ensure that we are compliant with that standard. If your ratio falls too far below the standard, your company can actually get forced to shut down by the regulators. So the short story is that as per our most recent audit, Empire was found to have 37% more money than the regulators require in order to back up these promises. So the short story is there's enough money in the bank vault for us to make whatever promises we want to the client. The second reason that we're able to offer this to clients, to answer, I think it was Kimberly's question, is simply this. Just like with most investment funds, we are incentivized to take good care of your client and help them protect and grow their wealth over time. The reason for that is because just like any investment management company, we charge investment fees to use our product each year. And we are incentivized to help your client grow their wealth because we would rather collect a couple percent on a $2 million portfolio rather than a $1 million portfolio. The short story is if your client is getting wealthier, then we are collecting more fees. We don't want your client to run out of money because then we have nothing left to collect fees on, and our profitability goes down as well. Make sense? Awesome.
So Matthew, would you say that your MERs are more expensive than, normal segregated funds? And can you give us an idea of like what percentage they would be more costly, I guess, to the client?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'll give you a quick overview of the MER landscape. There we go. So in the world of MERs, I'm going to talk about more than seg funds here. Typically, the cheapest MERs are in something called ETFs or exchange traded funds. ETFs are something that are very popular with do-it-yourself investors, the people who say, I don't need a financial advisor. Okay. Now, the next tier of MERs that you'll have are in mutual funds, which I'm not sure if there's any mutually licensed people here on the call, but with a mutual fund, you are paying for the oversight and expertise of a professional fund manager. Now, the next tier up, more expensive, is seg funds. And the reason for that is that you're still paying for the expertise of the fund manager, but you're also paying for the, insurance guarantees that come with the product. Now, above that, you would probably have something like hedge funds, which are discretionary portfolios where the MERs often reach 5% or higher. To give you an idea, 5%, not 50. So kind of in between that, you would probably have guaranteed products like Class Plus 3. Now, the short story is that MERs are going to differ widely depending on what's in the portfolio. And basically, the short story is the more equities or stocks are in the portfolio, the higher the MER is going to be, versus bond portfolios have much cheaper MERs. The other thing that forces the cost of an MER up is whether the word global is in the title of the fund. Global funds are always and everywhere more expensive than domestic. So, a long story short, the MERs that you can expect in a product like Class Plus 3 grand total are 1.7% low end to 3.5% on the high end, depending on which funds you picked.
Can I just wait till I buckle or Rachel?
Is that fair? Any questions? Awesome. Hopefully you learned something with that. So the short story is this. I've seen some Class Plus portfolios that are cheaper than a mutual fund portfolio. And then for some clients who, they want a global growth portfolio in Class Plus, then they would pay a little more money. We do keep the funds a little more affordable by only offering this in a 75-75 series. If we offered 100-100 or 75-100, then the MERs would be cost prohibitive. We don't want to do that to the client. Is that fair? Right on. Any further questions here before I move on to a live case study of our product? Awesome. I'll give everyone here on the call 5 or 10 seconds to take a picture of this screen before I take it away, if you want, and then I'll change gears. Okay, looks like everyone's good to go. So I'm going to put another link here in the chat. Here we go. Chat box. There we go. And this link is one that you can open up and it will take you to the Illustrator tool for Class Plus 3.0. The nice part about using this Illustrator is that it's public domain, which means if you have the link, you can use it. You just have to be contracted and logged in to actually write business with the client. But even if you're not contracted with Empire yet, if you had an appointment in 1 hour, you could still use this to present the idea to the client. Anyway, so we're going to run through a live case study here to show you what's actually possible in the retiree market if you know how to present this product. So I'd like to introduce everyone here to a client of mine named Fred Flintstone. Okay, now Fred has come to me. He was a referral, and he comes to me and he lets me know that that he has $500,000 of life savings, and he's looking for a good place to put it, and he wonders why he should use me instead of XYZ company. So let's imagine for a second that Fred is 55 years old, so he's born January 1st, 1968, age 55. Next thing we're going to do is the type of account that Fred is dealing with. To keep the illustration simple, I'm going to keep this to non-registered money for now. And we'll click continue. The next thing we need here for the illustration is to show it how much money we're going to be dealing with. In this case, I mentioned $500,000. And for simplicity, we'll imagine that the money enters the account today, basically. What we need to do further below here is to create a portfolio for the client. Maybe he wants to see a super safe portfolio. Maybe he wants to see a growth portfolio or something in the middle. I'm going to tell you my default way of doing this. You're under no obligation to do it my way, but I do think it is a good way. Not that I'm biased or anything. I default to showing clients an equity portfolio or a growth portfolio to start with on this illustration. Now, there is some method to my madness in doing so. My logic for the client is this, where I tell him, Fred, if you knew that market activity could not hurt your retirement income, can you see any reason to not stay in a growth portfolio? A lot of clients like that idea. They say, hey, if I don't have to be careful, then why would I? Other clients will say, nope, I don't want to see a down year at any given point. Well, we can accommodate that too. But I do like to get my client thinking bigger and envisioning what's possible. That's why I show them the growth portfolio. The other reason I do it is because the illustration automatically builds in a disaster scenario anyway, right? So I'm going to show him two different scenarios, a terrible scenario and a good scenario, and let him decide if he wants to see anything in between. Is that fair? Right on. For sequence of returns, I almost always leave this untouched on fixed rate. Fixed rate means that you're going to be showing the client the same rate of growth every year, kind of like with a universal life illustration. It doesn't show ups and downs. It's just straight rate of return. For average rate here, you're able to show the client whatever rate of return you want. For me personally, the limits of my comfort zone, again, you don't have to see things my way, but I'm the one giving the presentation. The limits of my comfort zone are something like 7%. You don't have to go that high. You don't have to go that low. That's just my comfort number. So 7% is what I'm going to show the client. And the last thing we need to do here on tab 3 is instructions for the guaranteed income. I mentioned that Fred was 55 years old. Let's imagine that he wants to work for 10 more years and start taking a retirement income at age 65. On withdrawal frequency, I typically leave this untouched on monthly because most clients would like their retirement paycheck as frequently as possible, monthly in this case. For withdrawal method, again, I usually leave this untouched on lifetime amount because lifetime amount is going to show the client the amount of income, an actual quote for the income that Empire can promise them. Is that fair? Right on. So from here, we're going to take a look at what Empire Life can do for Fred. So here on tab 4, you'll see we're at the end of the progress bar here. I never actually spend any time on this page. I just go straight to this button, the magnifying glass. It says report, and this will generate a PDF illustration for me in a new tab. Alrighty. PDF in a new tab, as I was mentioning. This is the document that, I'm able to download it, save it to my client's compliance file. I can email it to the client, print it, whatever I need to do.
Ken Heinzsongel customer.
Is the disaster scenario followed by the good case scenario. I want to show the client the disaster scenario first, or at least that's how I would do it, my personal style. I want to show the client the disaster scenario first to give them proof of concept that I can bulletproof their retirement the instant they walk in the door. Once the client is satisfied with that, then I'll get them dreaming a little bigger. So this is the graph that we're going to be looking at. First and foremost, elephant in the room. I understand that there's a lot of numbers on this graph. We're going to break it down for you fairly simply. So here's how it works. Obviously, there's two major components to the graph. There's the blue part and the green part. The blue part of the graph explains what the market is doing and what the client's account is doing. Fairly easy to read. It shows you what year it is, how old the client is, what the market did that year theoretically. It shows you any deposits or withdrawals being made from the account. And in the far right blue columns, it gives you a forecast for what the account balance would be at any given time. Fairly simple. The green part of the graph, on the other hand, is basically the guaranteed income engine, which will explain the moving parts and why the guaranteed income is going to do what it does for the client. Now, something important to note here, it's not blue versus green. Blue and green are happening at the same time here. So I want to take you through a little hypothetical for what's going to happen to Fred. This, once again, is the doomsday scenario where Fred invests his money with me and he immediately starts regretting it because he starts hemorrhaging. He starts getting minus 2% every year in the market. Okay, so let's take a look at what would actually be happening here in real life. Fred in year one is age 55. He invests $500,000 with me, and again, starts hemorrhaging, starts hating me, all that good stuff. And we see here in year 10, he's age 64. He's almost ready to retire at this point. In actuality, Fred's retirement would be in very serious danger if this had happened to him, because if he was hitting his retirement goals here, I promise you that is no longer the case down here. He's lost 30% of his money, and I promise you his consumption of whiskey has gone up by at least that much to compensate. Anyway, so the short story here is this. With most other companies, with most other products, if this happened to a client in real life, their retirement would be in very serious danger, and they would most likely have fired their advisor a long time ago. Anyway, in this case, here's what would happen to Fred if he had invested with Empire Life from day one. So Fred has gotten minus 2% in the market each year, and he's lost a lot of money. He's not too happy with me, and I'm now responsible for talking him off the ledge. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to explain to him, Fred, your retirement was never in danger. I know your portfolio has been hurt, and you're not feeling too great about that. But Fred, you're 1 year away from retiring right now, and I'm going to show you that your guaranteed income for life is just fine. It was never in danger. This is where I'm going to draw his attention to the right side of the illustration. So Fred invested $500,000 with me in year one, as we talked about. Now, this is a product that behaves a little bit like CPP and OAS, where it rewards the client for delaying taking income. The longer you wait, the bigger your guaranteed paycheck is going to be. The way that this works with Class Plus 3 is something that we call the income-based bonus, which each year is 4% of deposits. Basically, how it works is if a client goes an entire calendar year, Jan 1 to December 31, making no withdrawals, they collect the income-based bonus for that year. The income-based bonus is 4% of deposits. In this case, 20 grand is 4% of $500,000. Now, quick legal disclaimer about this bonus. This bonus is not cash. It does not get added on to the client's account balance at any time. What it does do, however, is it's something that we call a notional bonus, which means for calculation purposes only. So this income-based bonus, even though it's not an actual $20,000 cash gift to Fred, it does get added on to what we see here, his income base. The income base is exactly what it says, where it's the amount of money that Fred's income is going to be based on. And so how it works is this. We see two different scenarios. In real life, Fred got injured quite badly by the market. His account balance is way down when he's looking to retire. However, he's been sitting tight and collecting his annual guaranteed bonus, his income-based bonus, and he's collected 10 years of these bonuses at this point, which means at age 64, his guaranteed income is going to be based as though he has $700,000 in the account, despite the fact that the investments never rose to 700 grand, never came close, as a matter of fact. Make sense? So what's going to happen here, keeping in mind this is the worst case scenario for Fred, what's going to happen here is Fred retires next year. Empire runs the numbers and says, hey, Fred, we can guarantee you $28,000 a year of guaranteed income for the rest of your life. And so what happens here, we see him start to withdraw that money at age 65. He continues to take an almighty hammering in the market, and we see that he's on track to lose all of his money by age 74. Keep in mind, with most other companies, with most other products, that would have been a very short, very sweet retirement. Now Fred is old and tired and presumably very angry, and he has to go back to work to stay alive. In this case, Fred doesn't have to worry about that because he lost all his money in his portfolio. Too bad, so sad. Just kidding. An advisor would never tell him that. But in reality, he continues to collect $28,000 a year from Empire Life because we contractually guaranteed it to him. So what this means is that even though Fred went technically bankrupt a long time ago, he continues to collect that paycheck to assist his retirement, for the rest of his life. So here, assuming that Fred kicks off at theoretically age 100, we can show him the bottom line for his retirement. The bottom line, this is basically as badly as his retirement can go if he invests with me at Empire Life. Fred invested $500,000, lost it all, and presumably I got hurt very badly as well in my own investments. And yet Fred goes on to collect just north of $1 million of guaranteed lifetime income. Not a bad bottom line for Fred. Agreed? Any questions so far before I go into growth mode here? Perfect. So once Fred has asked me all of his questions and I've answered those questions to his satisfaction, he's satisfied that this is as badly as his retirement can go, I'm going to say, hey, Fred, this again is just in a financial apocalypse where both you and I get hurt very, very badly. And presumably so does everyone else that we both know. Now, Fred, let's come back to reality for a second and assume that the market continues to behave some kind of normally into the future. For the last 70 years, the market has averaged a 9 to 10% growth rate. I feel comfortable illustrating something like 7%. It's ambitious, but not unrealistic. Is that fair? Right on. And again, if he's not happy with 7%, I'll show him something else. But the point here is to get Fred dreaming a little bigger for his retirement. So in this case, we're on page 6 now, as I mentioned. We're looking at the same graph over again with one major difference. This time, Fred is getting an average of 7% rate of return in the market. And what this means is that in this illustration, Fred's assets are growing instead of shrinking. So now, if we fast forward to age 64, where he's almost ready to retire, we see something very interesting. Fred has been collecting the bonuses in this case too, but in this case, the market outgrew the bonuses, which means that now he's age 64. This time, in a growth scenario, his guaranteed income is going to be based on $843,000, which means that he retires the next year, and his starting amount of income in this case is almost $34,000 a year. And things only get better for Fred in this case. So I've got a question for everyone here on the call. Have any of you heard of a segregated fund reset before? Perfect. So a seg fund reset, in simple terms, means that if your assets are going up over time and a reset happens, the insurance guarantees go up. The maturity guarantee goes up, the death benefit guarantee goes up, all that good stuff. Now, the nice thing about this product is that the guaranteed income is also a seg fund guarantee, which means that if a reset happens, the guaranteed income for the rest of Fred's life can be reset upwards as well. So we're going to take a look at how that works here. Excuse me. In this case, with this product, policy resets are they're applied every 3 policy anniversaries. It's automatic, tri-annual, only if values have gone up. If values have gone down, no reset will be applied. That's why we didn't see this happen in the disaster scenario. But what's going to happen for Fred here is we see a policy reset every 3 years. You see this happen wherever there's a yellow box. And wherever you see one of these yellow boxes, you will see Fred's guaranteed income jump up the following year. So here we see he retired at age 65. He gets a reset in this yellow box at age 67. And what do we see here happen to his guaranteed income? It goes from $34,000 a year to $36,000 a year. A few years later, he gets another reset from $36,000 to $39,000, $44,000, $49,000, $52,000. The nice thing for Fred is this: if he gets a reset like this even one time during his lifetime, the new amount of guaranteed income is the new guaranteed minimum for the rest of his life. So he has a very serious opportunity to increase his guaranteed income and fight inflation and protect the purchasing power of his dollars over the long term with the word guarantee attached. To the best of my knowledge, there's not a single other product in the industry that is capable of doing this, because of the very few guaranteed income seg funds in the industry, none of them except Empire's will give you the option to pursue a growth portfolio. The rest of them will put you in extremely conservative stuff where this right here is not possible. So what's going to happen for Fred here is he started off with 34 grand a year of guaranteed income for life and increases it over time. So now we're going to scroll down to age 100 with Fred, and this is where I get him really excited about retiring, where I tell him, Fred, in this case, achieving a moderate 7% long-term growth, you invested $500,000 with me. You went on to collect almost $1.8 million of guaranteed income throughout your retired lifetime. And net of all those withdrawals, net of the investment management fees, net of everything, you, Mr. Flintstone, are left with a 7-figure nest egg to leave behind to your loved ones. And so, Fred, as promised, if this illustration happened in real life, we would have delivered you safety plus growth plus income, and we even threw in inheritance for good measure. Questions, concerns, thoughts, ideas?
This just sounds too good to be true, Matthew.
Okay, but again,
and is there an age limit? Like, is there a if you have a client who's 80 or 85, or does it go up to 90 like all the other seg funds, that you can't open seg funds after the age of 90?
Yeah, it's a good question. The age limit cutoff to open an account or make contributions to a Class Plus account is age 80. And yeah, kind of just to address the too good to be true commentary, if I was going to put a grain of salt on this, it would be as follows. Need my mouse back. None of us actually know, if we're being honest with ourselves. None of us have a crystal ball. We don't know what the market's going to average for the rest of a client's lifetime. The client could just as easily, finish with less nest egg than we started. But we do know historically that this is hardly unreasonable, 7%, right? And the nice thing about the product is that markets are unpredictable, and that's a double-edged sword. We saw in the disaster scenario, Fred loses all his money, but he gets to keep his income as a consolation prize. The nice thing with this product is this. Let's say markets average 2 or 3% for the next 50 years. Fred would not get these resets, but there's something really interesting about the product. Your client does not need to average a high rate of return over 50 years. All they need is to get 3 good years back to back. I ran an advanced illustration for this once, where the client strings together a 20% year, a 10% year, and a 13% year, which is not unreasonable, right? Just 3 good years back to back. The guaranteed income goes up by 50% in one reset. Which means that even if markets were not going to have such a good long-term rate of return, if your client gets just a little bit lucky a few years in a row, they can still get a nice increase to their retirement living. Would I guarantee that? No, but there's absolutely nothing to say it's impossible. So just some food for thought there. We are at the top of the hour here, ladies. I'm not sure if there's any further questions that anyone wants answered, or anything that you need re-explained or anything like that. I'm happy to take a couple extra minutes if there's more discussion to be had.
That was super awesome, Matthew. That was full of information and answered a lot of questions and gave hope to a lot of the clients that I'm working with personally. So thank you so much. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That was
really
awesome.
It's my pleasure, to be sure. The kind of just a finishing comment for you is this. If you're working with a retiree market or trying to get into a retiree market, there's a reason I called it shooting fish in a barrel. They love this when they see it, right?
Yeah.
And, because it addresses all of the concerns about, how can things go wrong? It preserves their most valuable asset in the world, which is a good night's sleep. So what it'll enable you to do is close high ticket business with large clients more frequently than maybe you would be able to dealing with other companies, depending on the situation. But more importantly, when you go through the 2008 and the 2022 years where the market crashes, you will get less panicked phone calls from your client, less clients to talk off the ledge. We had a Grand Prairie agent who said, she said, yeah, I put all my biggest clients in Class Plus, did not get one phone call about market performance in 2022. There's not many agents who can say that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds like a really great product. I appreciate this today. It was really, really informative.
Yes,
Absolutely.
thank you, because I have a couple retirees who are really worried about money, and this is what I'm going to talk to them about.
Absolutely. Totally. I'm going to leave you here with my contact information here in the chat for anyone who wants to get a hold of me. This is the last thing I'll leave you with. We understand that this is not the most, I don't know how much experience you all have, but if there's anyone here newer to the industry, we understand that this is not the most beginner-friendly product you could possibly use. Therefore, we're always available to you if you need any assistance in creating a proposal for a client, if you need assistance prepping for Q&A that the client might have for you, or even if you just want us to hop on a call with, maybe a client's got a lot of money, you don't want to mess it up, or the client's really savvy and they might have questions you might not have answers to. If you want us to hop on a Zoom call with your clients directly, we have been known to do that.
Or if the client's your parents and you don't want to field all their questions.
But believe you me, there is no type of appointment I get asked for help on, like to hop on a call, than the parent appointment.
Perfect. Mom and my dad, I'm like, I'm not doing this alone.
100%. So yeah, just to give you kind of an added confidence booster, if that is needed, we have known to oblige.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time, Matthew. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was